Hello there, it's Mazzy here, and this is a bit of a update, correction, and mea culpa based on my Beatles versus Stones video. I got a lot of comments, a lot more comments in the first day than I have in a lot of videos recently. And of course, you know, from the whole thing about how this debate has been going on since, as one poster commented, since the Great Pyramids. Remember back when the scarabs came out from the pyramids back in old Egyptian pyramid days, ye old Egyptian pyramid days. Scarabs are Beatles, by the way. I made a couple of mistakes. I do my videos train of thought. I maybe sometimes put a couple notes down, but usually don't. I did this just on dates, but I made two major errors, probably more, but I want to correct these right off the bat now. One was a slip of the tongue, and one of the errors was Beatles for Sale. If you watch that video, you don't need to watch this video unless you watch that video, but I went through and counted 8 original Lennon-McCartney or original Beatles songs on Beatles for Sale. And then I said, and the rest, and I said, this is where I tripped over my own tongue. Of course, I wouldn't trip over anyone else's tongue, would I now? I made a mistake and I said, and no covers, no cover songs. That was a mistake. What I meant to say was, and the rest were covers, and the rest are covers, because of course there are cover songs, Honey Dope by Carl Perkins, Words of Love, Buddy Holly, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, Carl Perkins, Lieber and Stoller's Kansas City, Johnson's Mr. Moonlight, Chuck Berry's Rock and Roll Music. So I screwed up, okay? Sue me. Don't sue me. And so that was more of a twist, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but that was a slip of the tongue. But the other one that I totally screwed up, and it wasn't in the comments here. No one really commented on it. I was surprised. But one of my best musical buddies who knows more about these kind of things in the UK 60s records than I do, texted me last night. He was gobsmacked, and he couldn't fucking believe it. Was this. And I glanced over this and I said, not one original song. Well, he said there were 4 original songs. Actually, there are 3, so he's closer to right, and I just totally screwed up. But in my defense, first of all, I missed where it said Jagger Richard, Tell Me. I love that song, Tell Me, and I know it really well, and I know it's an original composition. I forgot about it. I didn't see it here. But the other thing that I did not know, and this is where I said I'm not a Stones expert, so any of you who are Stone experts, feel free to chime in. There are 3 songs on here. Actually, 2 songs. Now I've Got a Witness. We all know that one, right? Not. And Little by Little. That are, the first one was written by Fledge. The second one, Little by Little, co-authored by Fledge and Spector. That's Phil Spector. The thing is, and I did not know this, and this is where I learn from you all. When you make comments, I do go back and research, especially if I'm called out on an error, and I appreciate that. I don't know everything. I know a lot about certain things, and you know, I like to discuss these sort of off the top of my head. But Fledge was a pseudonym, and I didn't know this. A pseudonym that the Stones used in the early days in 63, 64, 65 of all the Rolling Stones. This is where all the members of the band, plus Andrew Loog Oldham, their producer, could get a chunk of the publishing of the songs. Kind of like what, if you, this is a thing we've talked about a little bit. The Doors and REM are 2 good examples of bands that all the songs, for the most part, are authored by the entire band. So they all get a cut of the publishing later on in life, and obviously when the records come out. Unlike someone like the band, Robbie Robertson, you know, made all the money, and the other bands kind of starved the rest of the band. That's a whole other story. Anyway, I apologize. I stand corrected. But while I'm here, also the comments were great because, and this is, you know, I do these kind of videos to incite some people, not to piss them off. You know, I love the Rolling Stones, and I said that if you watch to the end of the video, probably a lot of you just watched the beginning of it. They're totally different bands. There was no real rivalry. It was kind of made up and in the spirit of things, and you know, the fans kind of started it, as well as radio and the music business in a way. It's kind of good to bounce off. But you know, there was so much good music there. It doesn't really matter. Stones were different. The Beatles, you know, started writing earlier than the Stones, and Lennon McCartney, as you know, great songwriters. But those of you that said the Beatles weren't really a rock band, there's a hand. First of all, if you listen to the Hamburg tapes, as sloppy as they were rocking, you know, they were playing 12, 14 hours every single day back in 61, 62, that time frame up until, well, all the time up until they really broke in America, and just prior to that in the UK and Europe. But I just want to show you, since I'm in my office, I'm about to start work, the CD era. Let's just show some CDs of the two bands. The stereo box set, I love this. You know, these are the remastered from, was it 2009, I think? Big box set. I won't go through each one because you know the records. And then the one that's just really wonderful, the mono box. Now, these are made to look like the little Japanese mini albums. Beautiful packaging. LP replicas, not those silly, stupid jewel cases. One thing I will caution you out there, if you're still looking for this, there are a lot of Russian bootlegs of this, and I don't know how to tell, so look on Google, and there's telltale signs. I just don't know. So buy it from a reputable source, and it's really great to have on compact disc if you're looking for digital. So I'm going to dissolve in a minute, and you can see some of my Rolling Stone CD collection. But again, I apologize for those mistakes. I hope they're corrected here. There might be others I've missed. Please pointing them out. I love to be transparent on my videos, and I do make mistakes, and I try to correct them. And obviously, sometimes I put in the corrections in the little flip down, but you people don't read those things, right? I don't know why you don't. So please check those out sometimes if you want the full story. And it's fun watching these. A lot of Stones fans jumping in on this, and I totally get it. You know, some people said the Beatles were more pop and poppy. Yes, actually, I think the Beatles were more well-rounded in that case. Although the Stones made magnificent records, and of course, you know, the humor in saying the Stones became the best rock and roll band by default. You know, someone else mentioned they became better than the Beatles in '66 because the Beatles stopped touring. However, the Beatles started making some amazing records. Look at it as an art piece. They weren't a touring band, and they probably wouldn't have been good as a touring band after that because they got sloppy and weren't rehearsing and playing like they had been in the early years. But when you watch the rooftop concert from Get Back, Let It Be, they're pretty tight there with that fill-in of Billy Preston on the organ. So right after the flip here, we're going to see just some of my Rolling Stone CD collection, and thanks for watching. Here are the Stones albums right after Jimmy Rogers and Roy Rogers. So we got Roy Rogers, which I love, cowboy music, Jimmy Rogers, and then we have the Rolling Stones. Now, these came out, I think, in 2002, this series. These are the hybrid SA-CD CD series, which I think are really great. APCO put these out. They put out the American and UK editions. I won't go through every one. Like you have the UK Aftermath and the US Aftermath. You got Between the Buttons, the UK and US versions. Out of Our Heads, early on, both versions, both the cover variants. I love this one. That one's so great. I love that cover. This is the ones where where's the one I screwed up? The one I screwed up in terms of original song, 3 original songs on there. Flowers, Satanic Majesty's Request, Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed. Now, then there's some the expanded Sticky Fingers extra tracks, the expanded extra tracks, version of XL on Main Street. This was a great box set when it came out, the singles collection. the London years. So you got all the B-sides and the singles and the extra tracks that and different mixes and things. So I would say this is, if you're a Stones fan, this is highly recommended. Love that collection. It's got We Love You that I mentioned with Lennon and McCartney on it. Now, the Virgin issues first came out on this larger format, and they come out, let's see here if I can do this in one hand. It's hard to do things with one hand. But they slide out here, and they're replicas. They're like the Japanese replicas of compact discs, replicas of LPs, but they're a slightly larger format, as you can see there. Then, of course, I stuck with them. Now, Love is Strange is like a 12-inch single. This is what I mentioned in the video yesterday, stripped. It's almost like they're unplugged, a live show. I love this. Street Fighting Man, Like a Rolling Stone by the Stones, I'm Free, Angie, stripped down acoustic. What year was this? In the late 90s, I think. Late 90s sometime. Then you got Voodoo Lounge. I kept getting all their albums on CD as well. Bigger Bang, 40 Licks. There's that logo again. Like a Rolling Stone. This is a single version of that stripped version, but the single version, a little different edit. Rock and Roll Circus, you saw the box set. And then I have things like, this is the Andrew Loog Oldham songbook. And their version of, let's see, which song is it on here? Oh, God. Was it hardest? As Tears Go By, Time Is On My Side, You Better Move On. I'm blanking out what song. You guys could write in the box down here what song that is. But the beginning of this was used by Blur for one of their songs, and they got sued. And now it's co-authored by the Stones, I believe, Jagger and Richard, as well as Blur. This is Rolling Stones Anthology. This might be a bootleg series that someone made for me. I can't remember. Then I got one. I only have one of the live. This is the live 1977 Marquee Club. So that's the extent of my Stones collection. I don't have any solo Stones records because I think they're crap, except maybe one of the Keith Richards. I think Mick Jagger's records, was it She's the One? And those are terrible records. I used to like, when I was a kid, I used to buy everything, so I bought Monkey Grip by Bill Wyman. That was a cool song, a cool album in a way, kind of kitschy. But the one I liked was the Brian Jones Presents, and I'll be back with that in 1 minute. This is Brian Jones Presents the Pipes of Pan at Jojuka. And he follows suit with like George Harrison with Wonderwall music and the whole Eastern thing. But these are more of an international type African Arabic record. Beautiful record. I really like that, and I kind of wish, and I didn't give Brian Jones his due on that video, the big video of the Stones, because I kind of wish he started working on solo work and really getting his, like a George Harrison, he kind of got stifled down there. I think in the early Stones, he was a big part of it, bringing some really cool instrumentation to the band. And maybe he didn't fit in. Maybe he secretly wanted to be a Beatle, would fit in with the Beatles in a way. And I think he really kind of dug that. This is my perspective. It's not a right or wrong answer, just an opinion. Unfortunately, he died way too young, one of the 27 club. But I would have loved to see what he would have done in the solo years. So anyway, so that's sort of my mea culpa and correction of the Beatles versus the Rolling Stones. I love both bands and continue to contribute. Check that video out if you haven't. It's a long one, but there's some fun stuff. I showcase the collection, and of course I'm digging, I'm having fun with it. So some people, it was great. The comments were great. More will come, I'm sure. I love all the different comments, and I have no problem someone saying the Stones are better. They may be wrong, but I kid. God, people take things so serious. And some people take it really seriously and really get defensive on this stuff. I don't. So whatever you say ain't gonna offend me, obviously. And the Stones have done quite all right without me or the Beatles. So, you know, there we go. I want to be your lover, baby. I want to be your man. Mazzy loves you. Thanks for watching.